I'm Jason.
Nice to meet you. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Jason Martin. I am from America. I'm from Oklahoma, and I have been working with Thrice for about 3.5 years.
Why did you come to Japan?
So when I came to Japan, I wanted to experience a new life, something different, something new. My life in America was good, but a little bit boring, a little bit, so I wanted to try a different culture. So I chose Japan because of the good political relationship between the US and Japan.
Okay.
And at the time I came as a tourist, I did not intend to stay in Japan at the beginning.
Okay.
I liked Tokyo, so I decided to stay.
Okay. What was your job before coming to Japan?
Yeah, so in America I was a live event production consultant.
Okay.
So anything live show with microphones, lights, stage, anything with musical, ballet, orchestra, hip-hop, sports games, anything with sound or lights or stage I did for several years.
Oh, that's good. It's like an entertainment, right?
Yeah, so with anything backstage, pretty much. I didn't like being on stage, but anything backstage I did.
So like a musician, the singers.
Set up the equipment for singers, musicians, ballet, orchestra, anything that I would always be backstage ready to help out or set up microphones before the show, take down after the show.
And what are the difference you have noticed between Japanese and American people?
So, generally speaking, Japanese are a little bit more reserved or a little bit more shy.
Yes.
But the longer I'm in Japan, the more I realize it's person to person, depending on their job or their level in the company or things like that.
So I understand that Japanese people are a little bit shy, and on the other hand, the American people are more like assertive and it's like active.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. I think assertive. I think it's just a difference in education. And in Japan, there's a lot of focus on written tests. And in America, some schools have things like speech or things like that. So we're taught to voice it instead of keep it reserved. So assertive. Not everyone. Many people in America are a little bit open, more so than the Japanese people.
Actually, I'm staying in US now, so I know a lot of the US people. So yeah, I agree that it depends on the person, right?
Yeah, it definitely depends on even the area. If you're in a big city, people might be a little bit more assertive. If you're in countryside, people are usually a little bit more relaxed. Kind of like in Japan. In Tokyo, people are quite busy, quite can't be bothered. Versus in the countryside, people are a little bit more friendly, a little bit more talkative.
You said you're from Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
What about Oklahoma people?
Oklahoma people are quite friendly. They're quite talkative, but it's not. I don't know. It's changed a lot since social media. Social media has really changed how people interact. But overall, they are usually friendly, usually nice. Not so assertive as the stereotypical New York City person. Things like that. Yeah.
So New York City people.
It's more of again. I think it's not even New York City. I think it's city. If you live in a big city, people are much busier. Kind of like the difference between like Tokyo and going to Gunma or something. The people in Tokyo are very busy. Train, meeting, go. So they're much more focused on the next thing to do, which makes them a little bit more assertive, or a little bit more to the point.
So you do enjoy Tokyo?
I enjoy living in Tokyo. Yeah, it's pretty convenient. Obviously, since coronavirus, I have been staying at home 99% of the time. But yeah, regularly Tokyo is very nice. it is busy. It's way busier than my hometown, but there's a lot of things to do. Obviously, I love my job. I've been with Thrive for a long time, so Thrive has many offices in Tokyo, so I get to kind of, before coronavirus, I got to visit many offices and help out throughout Tokyo.
Oh, great. So, what made you change your job?
Like in Japan or like in Japan?
Yeah, I heard. Yes, kind of both.
Okay, so first up, so as far as in Japan, so I've been in Japan for about 5 years, and before teaching at Thrive, I taught at the Ministry of Finance for about a year, and I also taught at a children's Eikaiwa for about a year. The reason I stopped teaching at the Ministry of Finance is because I did not like the students were great, obviously,財務省, Ministry of Finance, a lot of motivated people, but I wasn't a big fan of the kind of university style, one teacher, 20 students, 15 students situation.
Okay.
I wanted something a little bit more personal, one-on-one, even try the group lessons, 4-on-1. It's still really manageable. You can, I've had group lessons, the whole group for 1 year. So you see them every week for a year and they become friendly. Before coronavirus, maybe after they graduate, you go and have a graduation nomikai, something like that. So that personal connection is why I changed to work at Thrive now.
Okay.
As far as coming to Japan, the big reason I came to Japan and changed my job to become an English teacher is because I wanted to experience a different culture before settling down, before getting married, before having kids, those things. Because a lot of people in Oklahoma, once they get married, they have a kid, they buy a house, they do this, and I wanted something different. So you chose Japan and you didn't choose any other like Asian country or other? So I thought about going to other Asian countries, but again, the relationship between US and Japan is pretty good. You have a 90-day tourist visa, which is quite helpful. And then I knew I could have went and I could have gone. I could have went to any country. I could have gone to any country, but the only other country that made a little bit of sense was China, and only because Mandarin is so widely spoken. But at that time, I came to Japan in 2016. I was uncertain of the political relationship between China and the US. And that's why I always knew Japan was always safe. Japan was always good politically. At that time, it was Mr. Trump and Mrs. Clinton. They were running to be president, and I didn't want to do that. As far as the other Southeast Asian countries, Thailand or the Philippines or something, the amount of money I would earn there is much less than even like the Kodomo Eikaiwa teacher makes in Japan. It wasn't necessary for money, but also the standard of living. Tokyo has the infrastructure. Tokyo has the healthcare, the health insurance, things like that. So.
What were the students at your previous job?
Yeah, so like I said, previously I taught children at Kodomo Eikaiwa, and they were great, but it wasn't really, it was hard for me to be motivated because it's very hard to teach, this is a pen, this is a phone, this is a book. In America, I was a businessman doing large meetings, meeting a lot of cool people, and then I'm having to do that. And then, like I said, Ministry of Finance, a lot of the students there were really motivated. Some of them had really high scores, some of them were complete beginners. So it really depends on it just depends on where they're from or their job, things like that.
So you worked at Ministry of Finance, right?
Yeah, so I taught English at the Ministry of Finance for about 10 months.
10 months. Is they are similar to the students of Thrive or very different?
Yes and no. So Thrive, obviously the Ministry of Finance are all public servants. They're all government workers. Versus a lot of the Thrive students, we have students ranging from celebrities to musicians to CEOs. We have a lot of consultants, a lot of pharmaceutical reps from various companies, doctors, lawyers, and I've taught them all. Versus at Ministry of Finance, it was exclusively government workers. So the motivation level or the aptitude level is probably about the same. But I would say with Trais, because they are taking that extra step in getting private one-on-one versus at the Ministry of Finance, it was large group. I would say the Trais students are a little bit more motivated in that regard because they are taking that extra step.
Okay. So the students of Ministry of Finance what's their goal?
That's some of them, because the thing with Japanese government positions, many of the people at the Ministry of Finance were transfers. They were transferred over from customs in Osaka, or they were doing something in Fukui or something like that, like a local city. So many of them, they transfer every 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
And so some of them wanted to work abroad, and some of them were going. I think one of my students at the time, he was being reassigned to the embassy in Turkey. So he had to study English because it's either Turkish or English, and Turkish is, I would say, probably much harder to learn than English, where most people in Japan have some base knowledge of that. So most of the time at the government, they were doing it maybe for a transfer, or just to, maybe they lived abroad and they wanted to try and keep it up. But as I mentioned before, the classes at Ministry of Finance, you were limited usually to one class per week, and it was a 50-minute, 1-hour class with 20 other students. So kind of hard to get your conversation. It was more lecture-based
I understood.
than practice.
Okay, thank you. So, what do you enjoy the most at this job, Trais?
So at Trais, I really enjoy the students. I love the setup as well. Because at Trais we have the consultant and the teacher, and we work in tandem with each other. But the students. I mean, I can teach a doctor in the morning and then teach a lawyer in the evening, and we can talk about very different things, always in English, and I'm helping them with their goals. So allowing them to achieve their goal or help them toward their goal when it's very different. Working with that kind of specific goal or even that specific field allows me to really help keep my English skill at a high level, because I can talk with many different people about many different things. But also it helps the students as well.
So they have like a specific goal? Do they all have specific goal?
So many times, yes. Sometimes it's a little bit vague, or it might be, because most of our clients are businessmen or businesswomen. However, some of them, like I said, are celebrities, or they are housewives, or they are maybe unconventional jobs, or they are freelance type jobs where they don't need English but they want English. But some of them, I want to be manager in 3 years, I need English. Some of them, I want to move to San Francisco office. They have very specific goals. And like I said, some of them have more generic. I want to go to Hawaii and use English on vacation, things like that.
That's good, thank you. And what does your day look like at your job, the Trais?
So with Trais, before coronavirus, like I mentioned earlier, I would go to many different offices, but even during that time, I would wake up at about 5:30. I have lessons from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.-ish, and then I would do emails after that. And then depending on the day, some days I have new student meetings or student reviews or 6-month checks with students during the daytime. And then those are just kind of random. Depends on the day. Some days I have a lot, some days I have none. It just depends. And then in the evening, at about 7 p.m., 7, 8 p.m., depending on the day, I start evening classes, and I finish usually at 11 p.m. or midnight.
Wow! You start 5:30 a.m., right?
Class starts at 6, but I wake up at about 5:30. Yeah.
And you finish at 11 p.m.?
Most nights I actually finish at midnight. Yeah. But,
Wow.
Yeah. But during the daytime, I'm usually free. So if
okay.
I'm tired or if I'm sleepy, I can take an hour nap or something. But I try not to. I don't like to waste daylight. So
Okay.
I spend most of my day reading news or doing something on my computer.
Oh. How long do you normally sleep? How many hours?
5.5, 6 maybe.
Oh.
On the weekends, I sleep a little bit more because with Thrice, I get to. So I have my schedule open, and I can talk with the consultants and set up a schedule accordingly. So I prefer working early morning and late night, so I can have daytime before coronavirus. I want to watch a movie. Great, I can go see a daytime movie. No crowds, things like that. I have to go to show. I have to go to the city office. No problem. I can just go there. So, because I worked with Thrice for so long, I kind of have my schedule set. So I'm very used to how it is.
Oh. So, before you come to Japan, you already sleep just 5 or 6 hours daily?
Yeah, probably a little bit more, but it depends. So, like my old job, whenever we had shows, usually from Friday to Sunday, or Thursday to Sunday, I would get, maybe 5 hours a day, but sometimes less than that. Because many times, like if we have many different shows, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night type shows, Friday night show ends at 10 p.m., so we have to take down, and then we have to drive to a new location, and then sleep for a couple hours, then we have to set up, and everything has to be ready usually by 1 or 2 o'clock the next day. So it really just depends. But yeah, but about 6 hours probably is my average.
Most of the people, I think 8 hours is average.
Well, people say 8 hours is
yeah.
average, but I think most people, it fluctuates. Some days it's more, some days it's less. So yeah, like I said, on my Saturday nights to Sundays, I sleep probably 8 or 9 hours. But Sunday to Friday, it's 6 hours, 5, 6 hours. Yeah. But once you get in a routine, it's not so bad.
Okay. Thank you. So, how does your background in psychology help you as a coach?
Yes, so this is a good question, and I think a lot of people, at the end of the day, teaching is about teaching English and things like that, but it's about communicating. And having a background in psychology helps me understand, okay, is this a person who loves to talk? Is this a person who is a little bit shy about talking? And finding the best way to get them to talk. Like I said, some of my students are really shy. Even after months of one-on-one, their English improves, but they're still really shy, even with me. So trying to break them out of that shell, give them a little bit more open. And also, even with Horizon, I help a lot with new students' interviews, understanding very quickly, telling by their body language. Okay, are they nervous? Are they assertive? Are they, if it's a bucho, are they very, are they ready to talk? Are they ready versus someone else who maybe they haven't practiced English in 10 years, so they're a little bit shy, a little bit reserved. Knowing when to push, and then even some questions. Even though English is second language for all of the students, how they answer a question can indicate my next question. We do have kind of a, how do I say this? I can't think of the word. But we have a list of questions that we typically ask. However, depending on their answer, it might change on what we ask following that. So especially if they have a very interesting answer, I might ask a different question depending on how their reaction is.
Okay. So you can read their mind, or
not read their mind. No. That's not what psychology is. But you can, after getting enough experience giving interviews, and you can generally quickly tell about what level they're at, about what kind of method they need, if it's going to be because all students in Torais are motivated.
Yeah.
But some are very much, they want book, they want structure, they want this. And then others want much more of a, they want that structure, but they also want free conversation, or they want to talk about movies, or they want to talk about manga or whatever. So I can learn very quickly what kind of student this is going to be and how to assess them for future. Because the more you know a student, the better you can plan for them. And say, okay, I think a book would really work with this student, or I think this specific book would work with this specific student. That helps me out a lot. It does help that I've given hundreds of interviews to students.
So interview means that students will have interview, right?
Not just me. So whenever a student comes into Torais, usually they first spend time with a consultant, they take the Versant test, they do some goal checking, and then a native coach like myself interviews them for about 15-20 minutes, really checking their level. Versant is a usually pretty good indicator of grammar and things like that, but sometimes maybe there's a bad connection or something, so we are there to kind of double check that, make sure this is about the level they need to start at. If they are in need of a book, recommend a book, or general area, how to proceed, and go from there. So we have an initial check, a 6-month check, and then a 1-year check after they've finished the program in assessing the differences. So someone from the first one to the 6th month, they can see, okay, first interview was like this, they were maybe a little bit shy of this, and then now you can see the 6-month one and you can compare the first to the 6th month. Same with the year.
So you adjust how to teach, like it depends on the student's character, like
some of it depends on character, some of it depends on, a lot of it depends on goal. So if someone wants to give a presentation, then we focus on presentation type things. If someone, like I have a student right now, she's trying to pass an interview. So we aren't doing presentation stuff at all. We are focusing strictly on answering interview questions and how to appear confident. Because I believe her interview will probably be on Zoom. So how to portray that confidence in the Zoom situation. And if it's not a Zoom thing, you know, having that kind of body language or that tone to say, yes, this is my answer, these are my answers, this is why I want this job. So it really depends. Each student I change depending on their goal or even their day. I mean, I teach many of the students I have twice per week. Sometimes they're busy. They say, gomenne Jason-san, I didn't study today. Just today, I had Zangyo, I was overtime. I say, okay, that's great, but you need to study next time. And most students do. But over the course of 1 year, everybody gets busy. Everybody sick child or in the hospital or something. So this is kind of, I think you have a question later on. When you find the student is struggling, what do you do to motivate them?
Yes.
Sorry to skip ahead, but it's kind of that. You have to keep it enjoyable. You have to keep it fun, and that's one thing with the psychology background. You develop that connection with that student. And okay, am I the teacher? They are the student. Are we equals? Kind of like friends. Each student likes a different kind of situation. So from there, when they do say, I'm so tired. And I said, that's okay, tell me why you're tired. What did you do today at work? They're able to explain, and you're still getting them to use English, even if they didn't prepare, even if they didn't do what was requested of them.
Okay. So you listen when they...
Well, that's the big thing, listening, communication, speaking, and listening. It's a two-way street. Having them practice just explaining. Like my goal as an English coach is to get them to use English as much as possible and then correct it when I need to. And the more they speak, the more I can correct. And that's kind of the goal. And the more they speak, the more they practice, builds their confidence. And if they speak for 3 or 4 minutes, even if it's just about their work day, that's good. I mean, if they're studying to use it at work and they can tell me about their whole day at work, that's kind of a goal accomplished for that lesson.
So the tries is coach, you're a coach, so not just teaching English. It's
Well, exactly. And some of them, I mean, like I said, it depends on the student. But yeah, I've coached on interviews or even things like, I mean, before coronavirus, how to shake a hand.
Oh.
I've given seminars on, business emails, things like that. The goal is English, to improve their English, but also many of our coaches have business backgrounds, or some of them have deep teaching backgrounds. So there are certain subspecialties that some coaches can kind of do, and our consultants try to match based on those the best. And then, like I said, the availability is a lot. The scheduling, like I said, I have students at 6 a.m. I have students at 11:30 p.m. So I personally try to be quite flexible, but there's a wide variety of times.
Okay, thank you. So, what is the technique you use to help your students be most successful?
Yes, so I'm not sure that it's necessarily like a special technique, a special go-to or anything, but the big thing is that I try to, it's either two things. I try to tie it to their goal, or I try to make it useful, try to make it interesting.
Okay.
Because if it ties to their goal, I can say, okay, we are practicing this because your goal is this. Here's that link. And then even if their goal is here, but I'm teaching them something that is very useful, or very, like for example, if someone has presentation as their goal, but we're talking about business emails, and they say, we don't really need to talk about business emails. And I said, write a business email, present the business email. Let's do a meeting resume, or a meeting agenda. Meeting starting at 1,500 questions, and having that layout. And you can make a presentation about anything. So tie it to their goal, or make it interesting. Sometimes, like I said, they are tired from work. They don't want to talk about work. They don't want to talk about presentations. Okay, well, let's talk about, I send my topics 1 month in advance, so it's usually not, I can't do free talk, but some students, if they want to, they say, hey, you're from America, what do you think of Mr. Biden? And then we talk about that. I try not to get too political, but every time I start class, hey, Kamasan, how are you? Good morning, good afternoon. Do you have any questions? If they have any question, it can be grammar question, English question, American question, me question, I will answer it. And that alone, I think, helps a lot.
Okay.
Because sometimes they might have a question, and especially books. They usually have, many of my students have a book with me, they'll have a shadowing book, they might have a grammar book. Some of them might read, newspapers by themselves. They say, hey, I saw this word, what does it mean? We talk about it.
Okay.
So opening that, I think actually that's a technique, asking them to ask me questions.
Okay.
Because if you don't ask them, hey, do you have any questions? Maybe they will never ask. Some of them are not that open or that assertive to ask those questions.
Okay. Understood. Thank you. What kinds of students do you have now?
Yeah, so right now I have, let's see, I believe most of them are going to be, so I have an accountant, I have 2 or 3 lawyers, I have a musician, several consultants, mainly IT or business, like strategy consultants. I have a newscaster, I have a real estate developer, maybe 2 real estate developers, and then 1 it's not hedge fund, but asset management.
Okay.
And then 2 doctors.
Wow. So you have more 10 to 20 people for your students?
Yeah, so it depends a little bit on the season or the, I mean, on average, I like to keep between 15 and 20.
Okay.
But it also depends. I mean, I've had a little bit more. I do have group lessons, and group lessons are usually, I always have those. So those are on Saturdays usually. I think I have, so I have 2 on Tuesdays, 1 on Wednesday, and then 3 or 4 on Saturdays. So
Okay.
it just depends. But as far as private students, I like to keep about 15 to 20. If I have more than that, it just gets really busy, really busy, and it's fine. I'm good at that, but during the winter season, I like to just take a break a little bit. Spring and summer, I fill up quite a bit, but yeah, winter season, I take a little bit of a break.
And what about the ratio of the men and women?
That's a good question. Actually, right now, I think I might have more women.
Wow.
It'll be close. I think for me, my private students, it's probably 50 or maybe 60-40 men.
Okay.
Possibly. It's slightly in the men, but yeah, I have several female students.
Okay.
And especially a lot of the female students are looking to, some of them want to work abroad, some of them want just to level up management, things like that.
Is there any difference between the women and the female and men?
This is a tough one because all Torai students are very motivated.
Okay.
But I think, this is my personal opinion and not Torai's opinion, I think being a woman in business, in the business world, in Japan or in America, is very difficult. So I feel that some of my female students in the business world work a little bit harder because they are used to working harder in the real world. It is a little bit more difficult. So they have that mindset of I have to say more or I have to do more. That said, my male students are also very motivated.
Okay.
Absolutely, but I think slightly the females are a little bit more yarugiyan or something like that, a little bit motivated. But like I said, all of my students are very, very motivated, so it's not a big difference.
But their goal is similar, right?
Yeah, I mean their goal is similar, and yeah, definitely. Or so my doctor student, she just wants to talk to patients, or she wants to present research abroad. Okay. The one that works in pharmaceuticals, she just wants to be able to do reports and talk to colleagues in English, because some of them work for international pharmaceutical companies. So yeah, the goals are pretty much identical.
So just in my opinion, or I think the mind is more ambitious. Maybe I don't know. It's maybe.
I wouldn't say that at all. No, I think both are ambitious. The problem is that the reason for the promotion or the reason for studying English, like I said, most of the time it's the exact same. I want to live abroad. I want to get promotion. I want to make more money. Like I said, some of them I want to just take vacation. Yeah. So the ambition, yeah. I mean, if they're coming to Torais, they're probably pretty ambitious.
Sounds good. So the other people want to go abroad, right?
Well, yes, because the Japanese economy, even before coronavirus, was kind of stagnant a little bit. It was floating. So some people want to move abroad. Some people want to possibly permanently move abroad. So
that's good.
That kind of situation. And then some people want to work for international companies. Some traditional companies in Japan are not as flexible as international companies. So some of my students, if I study English, I can move to work at Google or Apple.
That's good.
A little bit more relaxed environment.
So listen to your the thing about students. They are very ambitious. So all of them take the things seriously. Like learning English is very serious for them, right?
Yeah, like I said, almost always, and like I said, over the course of 1 year, there will be some times that they're tired, but almost always, yeah, they're up at 6 a.m., they're ready to go.
Oh, that's
or
good.
they, like I said, a lot of them are already very high management. Shachos, things like that. Some of them are. And so they're already very, very high level. They just want to do it because they want that English, because they know Japanese economy has to become international.
Okay.
So yeah, everyone, all of my students, male, female, young, old, 6 a.m. they're there, 11:30 p.m. they're there. They're almost always there, unless they have overtime work, but especially in the evenings. Like some of my students, I have less than 10 p.m. I'll get an email. 1 minute, I have overtime.
Okay.
And that happens, once every couple months maybe for students, but for the most part, most of my students have very, very good experience.
Do you find any reason that they choose the tries than other schools?
Yeah, so actually we've had a lot of students come from other programs or other Eikaiwas or other English studying, and I think a lot of it is, in my personal opinion, I think a lot of it's the data. One thing that Torais started doing before all of the others, we really tracked data very well. The Versant, when do scores start to taper off? When do scores really improve? How do they improve? What books are people using? What is this? And I'm not sure exactly why students, I'm not sure if they know the data on that, but that's one reason why I would. If I look at the website, this Versant. Because when Versant, we started using Versant since I've been part of Torais, but it is something that the competitors have only kind of recently started, relatively recently, past couple years maybe. And so we have more data, more students over a longer period of time, and we have a lot of students over many different genres, or many different fields rather. Medical, legal, business, consulting.
So you are saying like 10,000 hours. The Trice said they need 10,000.
Yeah, 1,000 hours in a year. Yeah.
You mean that kind of data as well, right?
Well, not even that, but also the data of, so that's part of it. But like I said, so every month they're taking a Versant test, and then we're doing that over all of our students. So on average, when we look at all of our students, okay, Versant goes up, and then it tapers off, and then it goes up, tapers off. So why? Why does it taper off for this? Maybe month 3 to month 4, it's flat. Why? Why is that? Well, we have enough data and we've had enough students for a long enough time that, okay, it's because we need to change the method. Or this student, maybe they got bored with that book, so they didn't study as hard anymore, or something like that. So I think that's one thing.
How many students you use the data of? You have a lot of data, so.
As far as Torais, I have no idea. It's got to be in the. I don't have the number on me, actually, but it's a lot. Probably, if I have to guess, this is just a complete guess because I don't have the numbers at Honsha. It's probably between. All of Torais. It's got to be in the thousands. Yeah. As far as test points, and students, past students, present students, a couple thousand at least, I think. But like I said, that's just my guess. I'm not at Honsha. I don't know the real numbers, so you would have to check with one of the department on that.
So data means like based on data. Everything is based on data, so they rely on the data, and it's attractive, right?
That's what's attractive to me. And for as far as the competitive, like I said, I think one reason why we get a lot of students from other schools is because the other schools maybe didn't work, or they promised something in 1 month or 3 months.
Yeah.
The reality is, yeah, you can get better in a month or 3 months, but it takes more than that. And it does take, like I know some of the competitors for a long time, they did not have native coaches. If you're already at a high level, you need a native coach, or you have to get feedback from someone who's native. And that's something that Thrice has done since the beginning. They've always had the Japanese consultant help with the really nitty-gritty grammar questions, and then we correct on a native level, which is another reason I think Thrice was chosen by quite a few people.
Okay, thank you. Next is, what is the difference between teaching an individual and a group in this job?
Yeah, so teaching an individual, as I mentioned earlier, you get to be a little bit more specific, a little bit more specialized to their personal goal. Versus teaching in a group, you want to encourage everyone to share their opinion in a group setting, and then also be able to respond to others' opinions. Whether it's an agreement or disagreement. So some of my beginner level students or mid-level students, the intermediate, maybe we just do discussions. But maybe my advanced levels, we have debates. Or just like, okay, so you are team A, you are for this, you're team B, you're against this.
Okay.
Let's do that. You know, then you have to, I support this because, I disagree because, and you're learning how to disagree, support, or oppose something while using English and while being respectful.
Okay.
Sometimes in real life, especially on social media, when people disagree, they get aggressive or too assertive or things like that. Can't really do that. You can do it in business, but you're not really supposed to. So learning how to disagree or state your fact while maintaining composure.
Okay. So the group is more like debate, you mean?
The group allows, it also allows people, so first off, it allows group feedback. So I say this, well, I have a lot of questions I could ask them in English, but if student A and student B can ask student A a question, and maybe I didn't even think about it. Student B is a lawyer, so he thinks about it from a legal perspective, versus student C is a doctor and student A is a business consultant. So the types of questions and the type of interaction is very good depending on the group. And also, like I said, being able to state your opinion in a group situation. Many people, when I'm one-on-one, they become very comfortable with me. Saying your opinion, even in front of 3 other people, it can be a little bit scary for some people, or a little bit embarrassing. So having that practice where you have to talk in front of other people, because if you're studying English for business, you will probably have to use it in a meeting of some sort at some time.
I understand. Thank you. What are the biggest challenges Japanese people face in trying to learn English?
Yeah, so if they live in Japan, it's having the opportunity to practice. Having the opportunity to practice speaking English. That's it. That's the biggest challenge. There are other challenges, but the number one is using it. You can read all you want, you can listen all you want. But if you aren't speaking it, there's only so much you can do by yourself. And that's one thing why I highly recommend private lessons. Group lessons are also hugely beneficial, but private lessons allow you to have that one-on-one direct conversation. And that's something that, even me, if I want to speak English and I go to the supermarket, I can't. I have to use Japanese. No one uses English when I go to the supermarket. So finding people who speak English in Japan, in Tokyo, it can happen, but it's the same thing. It's an introduction. What's your job? What do you do? What do you like? And then that's it. And then you finish your beer and then you go to the next. To really grow in English, you have to practice different thoughts, different words, and it has to grow. Secondly, as far as the biggest challenges, I think a lot of it is tone or kind of, sarcasm, things like that. Since the internet has become really popular, people have become a lot like humor. Humor has changed a lot. And so knowing when someone is serious versus when someone is joking, it can just be the tone of voice. The words can be the same, the tone of voice changes. That's a big challenge because, again, in Japan, many students just learn from their teacher, who is probably a Japanese person, maybe never studied abroad. They are just reading from a book.
Okay.
So having the real world practice, real world application is a big challenge.
So speaking is the biggest challenge for Japanese, right?
Yeah, speaking and having the opportunity to speak. Because even if you want to, maybe you can't.
Okay.
Unless you play online games with American people or British people or something like that, you probably don't have, or you work with overseas colleagues, it's going to be difficult to have the opportunity to speak.
Okay, I understand. Do you feel accent and pronunciation is important for non-native speakers, and why?
Okay, so this is a kind of a complicated question. I know that Torais, they don't really put a lot of emphasis on it, and I think for beginner level students, it's not really important. However, I think if that's your goal, if your goal is to sound really native, then yes, you need to work on it. And I think if you want to be really, really high level, like really advanced level, it is necessary because it's just like Japanese. You can speak Japanese, but to sound really good in Japanese, you have to practice, the different intonation, the pitch accent. You have to do those things.
Yes.
As far as English, I think it's important after you've reached a certain point.
Okay.
Now, with that said, even beginner students, when they learn new words, they should be learning the correct pronunciation. Some beginner level students learn new words and they also learn the wrong pronunciation at that time. They should, or like a lot of students, katakana, eigo, instead of saying robot, roboto, or sinku, those types of, when they're using that extra, that's a bad habit. And so overall, accent pronunciation is not super important for most Japanese learners, or most Japanese speakers learning English. However, to really get to the higher levels, it's eventually needed, I think.
Is there any difference, like how the female and male, how good at the accent and pronunciation? Like,
I don't think so. I think a lot of it depends on. So a lot of it's going to depend on three things. One, how much English did they study previously?
Okay.
Two, age. Three, where they're from.
Okay.
So if they were born and raised in Tokyo, there's a chance that their accent is a little bit better, English-speaking accent a little bit better. If they're from, I don't know, Kagoshima, there's a chance that they didn't hear English very much. And so having to make those sounds or having to hear those sounds, it's a little bit more difficult.
Okay.
As far as male to female, I don't believe there's any difference as far as when you take into age and environment, things like that. I don't believe there's any noticeable difference.
Is there a lot of students who wants to correct the good pronunciation?
Yeah, so like I said, I've had a few students at the higher level, and we do some pronunciation work, but some students don't care.
Okay.
Some students don't care at all, and I think that's fine. Like I said, if your goal is to just talk, then that's it. Because improving pronunciation takes a lot of work. Torais has some pronunciation, or I think it's the Japanese English teachers that help with pronunciation. They have some coaches that do that, but most people, that's kind of an afterthought. Speaking first, pronunciation later. And that's completely fine, because especially if you're a manager, or if you're a shacho or something, they have to listen to you. So pronunciation is not important. If you can speak, give your message in English, that's all it is.
Interesting. Thank you. What are the benefits to the students who study English here, Twice?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, you'll always have private lessons with a native teacher. Some students opt out, but most of the time you'll have the group lesson as well. But also, the Japanese consultant and the student, you're supposed to send messages to the consultant. Some students don't send. Sending email every day is tough for some students. But it's kind of how do I say this? It's an accountability thing. So they are supposed to send study report to their consultants, and then there's feedback given there. It could be, sometimes they have to make sentences, sometimes they have to maybe talk about their work or something like that. There's always something there. So that's one benefit. Second benefit, now with coronavirus, it's not as much, but we used to have things like Rise Cafe or had slight social events at each of the centers, which allowed people to meet based on their, it wasn't necessarily skill level, but allotted times. So I used to help out in Marunouchi on Saturdays at 1 o'clock. So 1 o'clock we'd have coffee and we'd just kind of have a general chat. And there were a lot of good friendships made there. A lot of people made friends. That's another benefit. Like I said, right now with COVID, that's very difficult to do. I think they still have some online free lesson type things. But yeah, it's good. And like I said, the group lessons. I have group lessons still. Even though it's online, they're still very friendly. Oh, hey, Nakamura-san, how are you? Oh, I'm good. You know, Kenji, how are you? Blah, 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 blah. And they're able to kind of pick that up because everyone here is motivated. And like I said, typically they have similar goals. So they're able to talk about what motivates them, why. And also some of them work in very different areas. So they can ask, like I said, they have different perspectives. So that kind of different mindset allows them to learn different words or learn different phrases.
The last question is, what do you like to do in Japan when you are not working?
Yeah, so like I said, I love my job, I love working, but before COVID-19, I used to go to the movie theater twice a week, every Tuesday, every Saturday, and watch movies, Japanese movie, English movie, any movie. But since COVID-19, I stay at home almost always. I like to cook, I like to read, mainly news, but I'll read books and financial things. If I have real free time, I like to play PC games. I don't have so much time anymore.
Okay. So you watch Japanese movie a lot?
Not a lot, but yeah, maybe a couple a month. It depends on the movie. It depends on what comes out. Yeah. So, last Japanese movie I saw was the Kimetsu no Yaiba movie.
Okay.
But yeah, it depends on, because some of my former students were movie producers, so I would go see their movies. They were Japanese movies, but yeah, it really depends on the movie.
Do you like anime?
Some anime. I'm not like a super otaku like that, but some animation I like. Yeah. And I mean, when I was younger, you know, Naruto or Dragon Ball.
Okay.
But I was never like I don't collect manga. I don't collect anything like that.
Okay.
But it is sometimes, like whenever I'm cooking or something, I might have anime playing, you know, because I can listen to it and I can cut chicken or do whatever.
So now you watch Netflix or Hulu, something like that?
Yeah, Netflix, Amazon Prime. It just depends. Recently, I haven't watched anything on Netflix. I've been watching a lot of Twitch recently. I like to watch live streamers. Because I think the future is live streamers. Twitch, YouTube, things like that. So getting kind of that personal connection with who you're watching is I like that. Yeah. I love Netflix. But I think getting connected to a small community and helping that small community grow is nice.
So you mean the live stream, right? You said.
Yeah, live stream. Yeah.
Okay.
So if someone's on Twitch, they're playing a video game, I can say, hey, I like this game too. Cool. I think that connection is very important during COVID-19 because you cannot go outside. I think making connection of some sort is very important. That's kind of my personal belief. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you. So you said you're in the States. Where are you at?
I'm in Orange County.
Orange County?
Orange County, yeah.
Oshare.
Already.
Well, yeah. How is it? Is it mask lockdown over there?
I'm really curious that you wear a mask always?
Yeah, I wear a mask. Like 99%. Like sometimes I finish work at midnight and I go for a walk at midnight. Sometimes, because I live on the 3rd floor and there's no elevator, so typically in my jacket I have mask by my door or I have mask in my jacket pocket. If I walk down the stairs and I check and my mask isn't there, if it's at midnight, I just go for my walk.
Okay.
But if it's daytime, and I'm going anywhere with people, yes, mask 100% of the time.
Wow, that's good.
But for me, like I said, if it's midnight or 1 a.m., I'm just going for a 10-minute walk, like exercise walk. So
that's good.
Yeah. But like I said, 99.9% of the time even at nighttime, I wear a mask. Yeah. Or I wear a scarf. I have a big scarf. So yeah.
That's good. They say
okay. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, it was very nice to meet you.
It's very nice to meet you, Jason.
And I look forward to maybe seeing you again in the future.
Yes, thank you very much for your time today.
Kumail-san. Thank you for yours. Yeah.
Thank you.
Take care in America.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Stay safe. Yeah, bye.